It was the day the music died. It was reported by a newspaper in Galveston, Texas. It was all about a parakeet, yes, a parakeet named Chippy. 1 minute, Chippy was peacefully perched in his cage singing a beautiful song. The next minute, Chippy was sucked in, washed over, and blown away. It all happened when Chippy's owner decided to clean out Chippy's birdcage. Let me tell you something that might help you if you are a bird owner. If you're trying to ever clean out your bird cage, it's best to get the bird first out of the cage, especially if you use a vacuum cleaner. Chippy's owner didn't heed that advice. Chippy thought that he was safe as the owner turned on the vacuum cleaner, but Chippy was nothing but safe. All of a sudden, bam, Chippy was sucked into the vacuum cleaner, and the owner gasped. She thought to herself, what in the world have I done? She turned off the vacuum cleaner, opened up the vacuum cleaner bag, and there was Chippy the parakeet, stunned, but still alive. Chippy was covered with dirt and dust. So the bird owner did what any compassionate bird owner would do. She picked up Chippy and she raced him to the bathroom and turned on the faucet and put Chippy under running cold water until Chippy started shivering and shaking, looking like he was going to die. And so the bird owner got out her hair dryer and blasted the bird with hot air. This newspaper reporter that wrote up this story in Galveston, Texas, I checked in a few days after the ordeal, and he asked the owner, how is Chippy doing? And the owner said, Chippy doesn't sing anymore. Chippy just sits and stares. It was the day the music died. We can all relate with Chippy, huh? We get sometimes sucked in, and we get blown over, and we get all washed in very cold water, and we shiver and we shake. Much like Chippy, sometimes we are peacefully perched in life, singing a song. God is in his heaven and all is right with the world, when all of a sudden, bam! Right? It hits. The doctor calls. The check bounces. The pink slip arrives. The policeman knocks on the door. She texts you saying it's all over. Bam! We feel as though we're sucked into this dark cavern of doubt. We are doused with the cold water of reality, and we are stunned, aren't we? Sometimes we are stunned by the hot air of people's empty promises. We don't sing too much after that, do we? We just what? Sit and stare. We remember that day, don't we? We remember as if it was yesterday. That would be the day the music died. The disciples in John chapter 6 can relate. 1 minute they are sailing on the Sea of Galilee, and the next minute a storm arises. Lightning zigzags across the night sky. Waves threaten to swamp the boat. All four Gospels recount this miracle. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all tell us about the storm on the Sea of Galilee, but only John tells us this very important fact. in John 6:17. He says, by now it was dark, and Jesus had not yet joined them in the boat on the Sea of Galilee. We are learning at St. Michael through this year of John that John frequently uses words at several different levels. Let me explain with this word dark. It's dark, literally. The sun has set. There are no stars in the sky. There's no moon to be seen. No, it is literally dark. Level 1. Level 2. John uses words like dark and darkness and night throughout his gospel in a spiritual way. That is to say, it is dark in a very dark, excruciating, emotional, spiritual, all hell breaking loose way. Let me give you one example of how John just loves the word dark and darkness and night to tell us these are dire times. This is chaos undone. It's in John chapter 13, verse 30. John narrates Jesus in the upper room from chapter 13 through chapter 16. And so the upper room discourse is on Maundy, Thursday, the day, of course, before Good Friday. And in John chapter 13, verse 30, this is the description of Judas Iscariot, the betrayer, the Benedict Arnold of his day. And he's going to betray the master with a kiss. But what John 13:30 tells us is Judas left the upper room. And then John says, and it was night. Get it? It was night. It was dark. It was complete darkness. This is the most excruciating moment of the Savior's life, when Judas leaves and it is dark, dire circumstances, chaos reigning. That's what John means when he uses the word dark. How dark was it? John goes on and tells us this in John 16:19. A strong wind was blowing and the waters grew rough. You need to understand something about the geography of the Sea of Galilee. Galilee, the sea, is below sea level. It's not that far from the Mediterranean Sea, and north of the Sea of Galilee would be a huge mountain range. This is the exact recipe for a massive, sudden storm. So the hot air comes in with a storm from the Mediterranean Sea. It comes across this sunken lake below sea level, and then with the exact circumstances needed for a huge sudden storm, a cold front is coming from the north off the Syrian mountain range. Get it? It's a perfect recipe on the Sea of Galilee for a sudden storm. And these were fishermen. They did their living on the Sea of Galilee, and so this was the big one. This was like the mother of all storms because the pros panicked. And what does Jesus do? What do we learn from this fifth sign out of 7 in the Gospel of John? The first thing we learn here, we relearn again and again, is Christ is close. Christ is close. He doesn't just sit at the Father's right hand. He's not some heavenly being that has no contact on planet Earth. No, he's close. How close? Don't you love this verse? When they had rowed 3 or 4 miles, they saw Jesus approaching, not running, not standing, no, approaching, walking, coming, arriving, the boat, and he is walking on the water. If you've ever been in a storm on the water, you know what this feels like. You are at the mercy of your Maker. It is very dark in more ways than one. But this tearing does not shock Jesus. Jesus approaches the boat. He's going to walk straight toward the boat. Don't you just adore this beautiful painting of Jesus walking on the water? Jesus doesn't go around the storm. Jesus doesn't try and go over the storm. Jesus doesn't try and swim under the storm. No, Jesus walks toward the storm. Jesus walks toward the heart of the storm. Jesus walks toward the heart of your storm. And what would that be today, this morning? Mom and Dad, I'm pregnant. Mom and Dad, I'm dropping out of college. Bill, I just realized you've been cheating on me for 2 years. Honey, our child is dead. Mary, there's nothing we can do about your cancer. It is terminal. When things go south in the living room, or the conference room, or the boardroom, or the waiting room, or the emergency room, Jesus is close. He's approaching. He's walking. He doesn't ignore you. He doesn't forget you. He doesn't overlook you. He's coming right toward your sinking ship. That's the first thing we learn about this fifth miracle of Jesus in John's gospel. Christ is close. We also learn that Christ is in control. Anyone familiar with the Old Testament understands that only Yahweh, L-O-R-D in all caps in your English versions, only Yahweh, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has absolute, complete control over the sea. That's one of the main messages, actually, of the Old Testament. That's why we had Exodus chapter 14 as our first lesson this morning, where God causes this east wind to come and parts the Red Sea, and the Israelites walk through on dry land. Only God controls the sea and the water and the springs and the rivers in the Old Testament. Here are a couple of verses. Job 9:8. God alone. If you're taking notes this morning, circle the word alone. God alone stretches out the heavens and alone tramples down the waves of the sea. Psalm 66 is reflecting upon that great Exodus 14 event. And it says, He, that is God, turned the sea into dry land. They passed through the river on foot. In the Old Testament, only God has complete control over the sea, and now Jesus has complete control over the sea, which means exactly what? Jesus is, brace yourself, buckle up, one of the most stunning claims you'll ever hear. Jesus is that God. Jesus is that God, only now he's got skin on. This is confirmed by what Jesus tells the disciples when he walks to them on the water. John 6:20, I am. Don't be afraid. And many of us are learning through this emphasis on John this year that I am is a major claim by Jesus in the fourth gospel. You know, right, in Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, as Moses asked God, what is your name? God says famously, I am who I am. Oh, Jesus takes that and runs with it, doesn't he? I am. We hear this throughout the fourth gospel. I am the bread of life, John 6:35. I am the light of the world, John 8:12. I am the way, the truth, and the life, John 14, verse 6. But the best one of all, the clearest one of all, it's in John 8:58, where Jesus says, before Abraham was, I am. Christ is in absolute control. Why is that? Christ is God. Don't be afraid, he says, I am. Are you afraid of spiders and snakes? Jesus is greater than spiders and snakes. Are you afraid of cancer? Jesus trumps cancer. Are you afraid of that ugly sin? Jesus takes care of all ugly sins. Are you afraid of that person? Yeah, I know that person. We all have that person. Jesus is greater than that person. Jesus is greater than any person. Are you afraid of death? Sure you are. We all are. Jesus is greater than death. Another I am. John 11:25. I am the resurrection and the life. What do we learn from this fifth miraculous sign? Christ is close. He walks toward our sinking ship. Christ is in control. Even the wind and the waves obey him. There's one more. Christ is capable. He's competent. He knows what he's doing. I love this adverb. You might miss it. But this adverb in John 6:21. Immediately. Jesus doesn't delay. He doesn't dilly-daddle. He is right there immediately. What does he do immediately? The boat reached the shore where they were heading. He's capable. You have a competent, capable Savior who sees you sinking in the sea, and immediately, he gets your boat to the shore in safety. He most certainly gets your boat safely to the shore. Count on it. How can I be so sure? Because there was another storm, and you know about this storm too, don't you? And there was another storm, and Jesus intentionally set his face to walk straight into that storm. Just like in John chapter 6, Jesus doesn't try and go around the storm. He didn't try and go over the storm. He doesn't try and go under the storm. Jesus walks straight into the heart of the storm. Straight into the heart of the storm for you and for your salvation. It was really dark that day, right? John tells us there were 3 hours of darkness. Get it? Darkness literally and also spiritually. All hell had been planted upon the Savior's heart. And it's dark. Oh my, it's dark. This is what your sin has done to the Savior. This is what my wretched, ugly, narcissistic sin has done to the Savior. And after the whole bloody mess, he just hung there, lifeless and limp. It was most certainly the day, the music, the sweet, lovely music of Jesus. This was the day the music died. But, however, on the other hand, the song, 3 days later, this song, check that, it wasn't a song, Reed Lessing. It wasn't a song on Easter at all. It was a grand symphony of celebration. And it rocked on. There is nothing dead about your Jesus. John 1:5, one of the pivotal verses in the gospel. The light shines in the darkness. Get it? The light shines in the darkness. Shines, present tense verb. It's still shining, folks. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. What's it mean? It means today. Just here. Right now, we have a song to sing. Just ask John, not John of the first century who wrote the fourth gospel. Ask John of the 18th century. This John is also a famous John. You probably know something about him. He was cruel and crass. John had no heart for Jesus. John was a stubborn fool when it came to the claims of Christ. John worked on a slave ship called the Greyhound. And the Greyhound captured Africans and transported them across the Atlantic Ocean to our American shores. On one of those trips, John's Greyhound ship was in a massive storm. Oh my. John and his sailing partners worked all night pumping the water out of the Greyhound. It was to no avail. John finally threw himself on the deck and cried out, "Lord, have mercy." And within a few hours, the storm settled, and the Greyhound made it safely to shore. And John had a song to sing. Oh my, it's the most famous song Christians have ever sung. You know, he composed it on December 31st, 1773. And you know the song, right? What's the song? His name is, another hint, John Newton. The song? Wow. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. Storms come. Storms come quickly. Storms come suddenly. Storms come ferociously. If you're in one right now, you know what I mean. If you're not in one right now, you know that one may be in tomorrow's forecast, right? Dear friends, have courage. Jesus still safely brings boats to the shore. And what's that mean? It means the music will never, ever die. The music, the song we have will never, ever die. Because with John Newton, we have what? We will always, and I mean always, and I mean forevermore, we will always have a song to sing. So let's stand up, shall we, and sing it.